about week 2 of the NFL. I think we got to start with the injuries. It was a lot of injuries, man. A couple players that I had on my fantasy team, like Cooper Kupp, the Rams are decimated. It's just crazy how things change in the NFL from one week to the other. We just look at some of the games that we had. I will tell you that, like, these injuries is nasty, right? Tua, another concussion. That was scary. Everybody that's seen the concussions that he's had before, I think his career is really in jeopardy. He says he wants to play. They put him on the IR. But those type of hits, I've never seen a player look the way that he's looked after being hit the way that he was being hit. We lost Deebo Samuel for a little while. Hollywood Brown is out for the year. I'm going to talk about that in a moment when I go into my Kansas City Chiefs update. A.J. Brown goes down. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Isaiah Pacheco is hurt. It's a lot of big players that are hurt. So I'm going to go into the Chiefs in a second. So these are my takeaways from week 2. Buffalo Bills are for real. Looks like that Josh Allen's now my front runner for MVP. I think that offense looks good. His team looks good so far. We're going to see if they continue to, keep doing well, whether or not he's going to have enough weapons if he gets into a shootout with like a really high octane team later on in the playoffs. That was my reason for not wanting to go with the Bills. We'll see if Keon Coleman could step into that role. He is starting to run a lot more routes. He's there for a lot of snaps, but for whatever reason, he's just not being targeted that much. We'll see if he could grow into that role because that's going to be really important. James Cook's been a monster running the ball. And look at the Niners. This is why we all love the NFL. The NFL is crazy. The Niners beat who I think is going to win the Super Bowl, and they beat them dominantly. And they ain't going to lose to the Vikings. You know what I mean? To Sam Darnold. And think about that for a second. You go from beating the Jets with Aaron Rodgers to the guy that couldn't win on the Jets, Sam Darnold. It beats the Niners. It's crazy. I know Deebo got hurt, but they're still talented enough to get it done. I still like them to come out of the because it does look like McCaffrey's coming back. It does look like Deebo's coming back. And they got Ayuk, that offensive line. They got that defense, and they got Kittle. I think Kittle's going to be blowing up these next couple of weeks until those guys come back. We got Giants still stink. It's my team, but they not it. Chargers are 2-0. Means nothing to me. Yeah, they're doing, they're winning the first couple of games. We'll see where they go with that. The New Orleans Saints lit up the Cowboys. Cowboys, they got lit up. We'll see if they could continue. Saints are a little sleeper team to come out that division, though, between them and the Buccaneers. We'll see out of those two who ends up coming out of there. Packers got a little win without Jordan Love, who's back at practice already. We'll see if they get him back soon. Browns got a victory. The Browns are another sleeper team. If Deshaun Watson could get he can get to 80-90% of what he was before. They got weapons. Nick Chubb should come back. They got a great offensive line. They got a great defense. They're another sleeper team that we need to be looking out for. We're going to talk about the Jets in a second. The Buccaneers got the Lions. I still think the Lions are going to be one of the better teams. I don't think the Bucs are going to make noise in the playoffs, but they got a big win against the Lions. Raiders got a win. Ravens are in trouble. They're 0-2 already. Them and the Bengals are 0-2. And the Bengals, I'm going to talk about that game more because that's going to involve the Chiefs. Rams are just hurt. They got nobody out there. The Cardinals cooked them. That boy Kyler Murray is back. That's all I know. That's why it wasn't just me. It's not like I said anything profound when I said that Kyler Murray's going to have a big year this year. A lot of people already felt that way. That was like a consensus thing that Kyler Murray was going to have a great year. Steelers got to win. They're 2-0 again. Mike Tomlin, man. Caleb Williams not looking too good so far in his first couple of starts. Texans got him. Caleb got to continue to get better, right? We gotta remember he was playing across from the greatest rookie of all time at quarterback, right? Like C.J. Stroud was like damn near MVP candidate last year, and he's continuing to look good. The Texans are still going to be a tough team to beat. And then the Eagles gave it up against the Falcons, man. They had that win. Saquon dropped the ball, but you got to give Kirk Cousins credit for marching down the field, and I think that was big for his confidence. He is coming off the ACL, the Achilles injury, and he's on a new offense. And one of the quarterbacks I was listening to mentioned that the 2-minute drill is one of the most comfortable things, especially for a new quarterback, because forget what all the system is. It's like, the plays that you're running, and it's just a matter of executing the plays. I think that that's going to be big for his confidence. I really do expect the Falcons' offense to be really, really great this year with Kirk Cousins at the helm. Bijan Robinson looked great. The Eagles can't stop the run. They used to be known for stopping the run. Bijan was giving them business. So that's kind of like around the league what my takeaways were. Now let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 big injuries. We got the report that Hollywood Brown is going to be out for the year, potentially could come back for the playoffs. That's going to be tough for the offense because he's an established threat that I felt was going to be really great to stretch the field in addition to Xavier Worthy. And by having Hollywood Brown out there, it takes the pressure off of Worthy, and it's like you kind of have both of them to help free up Kelsey and Rashee Rice. Now Worthy's going to have to step into more of a larger role. And I think he has the talent, he has the right coaching, and he has the right guys around him to make that happen. But we'll see what he can do to help elevate that offense further. You saw, a couple targets last week, but didn't really do much. We got it was a really, really great game between the Bengals and the Chiefs. I swear to God, Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, those are the only guys that seem to be able to beat the Chiefs. I mean, Josh Allen has been in the situation that Burrow was in this past game. Like I swear that's what happened to Josh Allen all the time. He'll leave the field 12 seconds with the lead, and these guys just march down the field to do something crazy. But the Bengals are 0-2. They looked a lot better, though. Like I said, the Chiefs, to me, were the best team in the league coming into week 2. And after that horrible display that they did against the Patriots, and this has become a theme for the Bengals, they just seem to get off to slow starts. Last year, Burrow was hurt, so I get it. But they need to start clicking. T. Higgins should be coming back soon, and that offense is going to start to be high-flying again. And they're not afraid to go into Arrowhead, right? Joe Burrow's beat Mahomes. He's beat him in the playoffs, so they're going to be tough, but they got to get it together. It's in the NFL, you can't get off to too bad of a start because it becomes hard to pick up enough momentum to get into the playoffs. So the injury to Isaiah Pacheco is big too. He's a really good running back, and he's one of the keys to the offense being able to execute at the level that it's able to execute at with the Chiefs. I want to talk about something I heard on ESPN earlier today in a moment, and I'm gonna reference back to Isaiah Pacheco as an example. But him being out, they're saying he might be out like 8 to 10 weeks. That's gonna be a big loss. And then what is he gonna look like when he comes back? Because he really runs angry. He really adds an element of toughness to that offense. But if there's any quarterback that you want to have in a situation where everything seems to be falling apart, you just lost one of your top weapons, and then you lost something that makes the game easier with running the ball, is definitely Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to see what he could do. So I think it's going to be between him and Josh Allen for MVP, and then C.J. Stroud might sneak into there too. C.J. Stroud's up there too. I actually take back what I said about Allen. It's just people were expecting a lot from the Texans, and I don't think people were expecting too much from the Bills. I definitely wasn't in that camp of expecting too much from the Bills. Now for the Jets got on the board. I mean, we expected them to beat Tennessee. Like I said, their schedule is a little bit forgiving right now. Today's Thursday when I'm recording this. They got a Thursday night game against the Patriots. They should win that game. That should be no problem. And just like that, they're going to be 2-1. And they're going to continue to get better as the season progresses. I want to see them really start to add Mike Williams into the offense. I think that's going to be huge. Aaron Rodgers is slowly going to start to get close to the form that he's capable of. So the Jets are going to continue to do well. I think that they're going to get some momentum, and then we'll see, how the season progresses. But the Chiefs definitely took a hit with losing Hollywood and Isaiah Pacheco. Those are 2 big losses that Kansas City is going to have to overcome. And we'll see how well they're able to do so. And I was definitely wrong as far as one of my and this is what I was watching on ESPN. I was definitely wrong about I felt offense was going to take a big jump earlier in the year. And I heard an interesting reason for why. Mel Kiper was talking about banning two deep safety defenses on the field. Like they can't be past a certain depth. And I think this defense really started to be like the Bills always played like this. The Bills will always keep everything in front of you. And Kansas City, everyone just started to play them with their safeties back and try to force everything underneath and rally to make tackles. And what that does when you don't allow, so let me break down the benefit. They call it the Tampa 2, right? Two deep safeties, meaning the two guys that are at the end of the defense that are far back in the field to keep big plays from coming over the top of their heads. So by doing stuff like this and not giving up those easy big plays, even if you let them march down the field, now once you get to the red zone, this is where the most difficult part of the field is to execute because the defense has less of an area to have to defend and the offense has less of an area to work with, right? So this is what the Chiefs have been dealing with the last couple of years because they've had nobody to stretch the field. But one of the things that Patrick Mahomes was able to shift to was taking what the defense gave him. Check downs, getting the 10-yard route. Tom Brady was a master of this. Because if you're just going to give me an 8-yard completion, a 6-yard completion, a 4-yard completion, and we're going to run the ball on second and 2, and just keep moving the chains, you don't have to get it all in one play. And that's why Patrick has become so great because he's been able to orchestrate an offense that doesn't need one monster play to just score. He'll just march down the field on you. That's what he's become really good at, and that's what Tom Brady was so great at. Tom Brady would just march down the field and take what the defense gives you. That's why having a quarterback and a receiver on a string to be able to operate within that 5 to 15 yard, maybe even to 20 yards in the field and kind of be on the same page to be able to move the chains in the playoffs is so important. And that's why the Chiefs continue to win. And that's what I think the Jets can do with him and with Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. And you're starting to see the way they're operating now. So Mel Kiper was saying, nah, you got to take away the two deep safeties. Listen, if quarterbacks can't take advantage of that, and I mean, that's why you run the ball, right? That's why the loss of Isaiah Pacheco is going to be tough because now if you don't have somebody strong to run the ball, you can start to take those safeties back. Now, let's just strategically talk about defense for a second. Now we get into football weeds, but strategically, the way you get a defense out of that two deep safety look is you got to run the ball. Because if you run the ball, they're not going to have enough people to defend the run. You can just start getting 5 yards, 6 yards. That's what the great offenses are doing. And what they brought up was a good point. I didn't think about it like this. And this brings up what Tom Brady said recently about quarterbacks playing too soon and then the offense is being simplified because they're not able to learn more nuances of the offense because they have to play so soon. I thought he was crazy when he said this, but it's starting to make a little bit of sense. We have all these young quarterbacks in the league. If you just play deep safeties and they're not able to read the defense as fast and they can't just go and just go 5 yards, that they make a mistake, it makes sense that scoring is down across the league because they're not taking advantage of what the defense is giving them because they're not able to break the defenses down yet. The people who do it, the great offenses year in and year out, you look at teams like the Chiefs, even though their offense wasn't as explosive the last couple of years, you look at like the Bills the last couple of years, you look at the Eagles, they got a running game. They got people that can attack you in all parts of the field, but then people like Joe Burrow or Josh Allen, they'll take, Josh Allen will run for 8 yards. Josh Allen will throw for 8 yards if he has to. That's what the great quarterbacks are able to do. So they gotta. I thought it was a good point, but if people are gonna play safeties back, you gotta run the ball. Kansas City is the prime example of what happened when they said, nah, we tired of this Tyreek Hill over the top doing all this type of stuff. And Mahomes even said he had to learn to just take what the defense gave him. So it actually makes sense. So if you're going to run the ball a lot more and, the game slows down, that is going to make it a little bit lower scoring, in addition to what we see with the sloppy play to start the season, which I'm just waiting for when they figure out, like, to just start sharper. But it looks like only the elite offenses are going to be the ones capable of doing that. So that was an interesting point I thought that they brought up, and it's going to be, I want to see how the Chiefs are going to navigate. I think they brought back Kareem Hunt. They got Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. None of those guys are going to be as good as Isaiah Pacheco. Kareem Hunt, it was always somebody that if a team needed a running back as like an injury replacement, he was probably on their radar. But the fact that he wasn't on a team is kind of telling. But it's interesting that he's back in KC where he left before. We'll see what type of energy he can bring that team. So I don't know. I think that that's a reasonable point, but I think it's completely ludicrous to tell defenses that you can't play your safeties back. The offenses got to adapt. They got to run the ball, and they got to be able to march down the field with 8 yards at a time. And most importantly, you got to learn how to score in the red zone. The greatest quarterbacks, they always score in the red zone without throwing interceptions. And that makes a lot of sense because if you don't give up that big play and you force them down, you give up a little bit, and then you get to the red zone, and then at the red zone, you just tighten up. I mean, that's the thing the Patriots were known for a lot over the years. The best defenses all do it, and it's a copycat league. And quarterbacks got to learn to take advantage of that and get better in the red zone. That's why the Chiefs are so good at scoring, too. They come up with all these gadget plays. You got Mahomes and Kelsey that are on a string together. So that's how they're able to exploit it. But it's time for the young QBs out there in the league. They got to step up, and they got to start taking advantage of those opportunities. And last thing I want to talk about with the NFL, so far it's been a rough start for me and my bets for the year. First couple of seasons haven't really gone my way. Last week, I think I went 2 out of 5 of my 5 plays that I liked, lost my parlay, but we're going to be right back to it this week. I want to talk about them because I had a little bit more time. I'm going to talk about my favorite ticket. So I like, hold on, let's get this up here. So there's reports that Nico Collins is banged up. You got Joe Mixon banged up. So I feel like getting Stephon Diggs at 48.5 is going to be beneficial. I like to grab players before their number moves just in case the player's hurt. Plus, he has a chance to get 50 yards anyway. But I like that little extra advantage. I like Dallas Goedert this week. If you like Devontae Smith, Devontae Smith is a good play too. With A.J. Brown being out, I like Goedert for 40 against the Saints who have been scoring. So I think 40 is a good look. I like Kelsey at 48.5. I just think that they're gonna make it a priority to get him the ball this game, and with him having a slow start to the season, I just think they get him a couple of plays early to get him going. And I always like, if I could get Amon-Ra under like 90 yards, I feel like I'm going to take him every single time. I got him at 76.5, and then I think I got Marvin Harrison at 57.5. Lions going to put up points. As a fact, I think we're going to see another shootout with the Lions and the Cardinals. And then the one other play that I like for the week is George Kittle at 51.5. So those are the 6 that I like this week. And again, the reason I like George Kittle at 51.5 is Ayuk is still kind of rounding back into form. It's a similar situation and spot to what the Eagles have with one of their receivers down. And you could go either way. Ayuk could have a good game. You could have Kittle have a good game. They are going to be playing against the Rams, which they probably going to blow them out. I feel bad. The Rams lost both their top receivers. Their O-line's all banged up. So there's a little bit of a blowout risk that I worry about with that one. But those are the ones that I like. And that's it for the NFL for this week.